His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki Kantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Samaveda Bhaktivedanta ki. Oh, glorious and assembled devotee. Oh, glorious and assembled devotee. Oh, glorious and assembled devotee. Glorious Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, oh, glorious Shri Guru. Okay, so today is Valentine's Day. But more importantly, it's the appearance day of Ram. And Valentine's Day is the perverted reflection of the actual relationship, the ultimate relationship of Radha and Krishna. So this is a illusory concoction of the modern civilization where so-called man and so-called woman come together and celebrate their so-called love. But in reality, this is just lust and it's just envy of Krishna, really. Ramana Prabhu, he always makes the point especially when we're out there in the park in Union Square, he looks around, he sees it, the man and the woman walking around holding hands. You just see he looks at them with this disgust on his face, because he's really understanding what he's seeing, and he's saying they're just envious of Radha and Krishna. Look at this woman trying to play Radharani. Look at this man trying to play Krishna. And to a pure devotee, this is painful. They see all these living entities trying to imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So today we can, like we do every day, celebrate the glories of Radha and Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. Om Agyanatamirandasya Nanjana Salakaya Chachurunditham Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manojishtam Bhavikam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Gadam Swadhantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Abhedam Sabdutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakam Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Priyapate Gopesha Sharakanta Radha Kanta Dustate Tata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vineshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyamadi Paschatari Shritare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pranganam Harite Vinya Kripat Maham Bande Shri Guru Natharam. Okay, so reading from Preaching is the Essence. This is section number 15. How a preacher should deal with opposing arguments. And this is an excerpt from the C.C. Adi Lila, chapter 16, verse 8. The main business of a preacher is to induce Sankirtan. Although Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees in disciplic succession can defeat all kinds of learned scholars, scientists, and philosophers in arguments, thus establishing the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, their main business as preachers is to introduce Sankirtan everywhere. Simply to defeat scholars and philosophers is not the occupation of a preacher. Preachers must simultaneously introduce the Sankirtan movement, for that is the mission of the Chaitanya call. So that is our main business. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We see in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, he did at times get into philosophical debates. We see that after he took initiation, in the beginning of his life, he was the great Nimai Pandit, undefeatable. He would go around, or people would come to him, so he would go around getting debates. He knew he was very, very learned, and he could not be defeated. And this was his preoccupation, was defeating people through argument. But we see that after he took initiation, what was his mood? His mood was, I'm a foolish person. My my spiritual masters consider me a great fool, and so I just chant Hare Krishna all the time. But in reality, the conclusion of all knowledge is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So actually those who are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is described actually in the 3rd canto, chapter 33, verse 7, that they have already completed all austerities and undergone all learning. So the verse is, I'll just put it up here, this is from the teachings of Lord Kapila. He's talking to his mother, Devahuti. Aho bataswa pachato gahiyan, yajiva grevhartate nama tubhyam, te pas tapaste juhu sashnu arya, brahmanuchur anama grananti yete. Oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices, and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bathed at the holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So this is the glories of chanting the holy names. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham nirishana visto mata smriti jnanam aponaham cha vedasya sabe aham eva vidyo vedanta kritveda vedeva chaham. It says, Krishna says that Sarvasya chaham nirishana visto. So he's seated in the heart of every living entity, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And then he says the purpose of the studying the Vedas is to know him. So Krishna is not different than his name. So by chanting Hare Krishna, we're coming to the conclusion of the Vedic scriptures, which is to be in connection with Krishna or understand Krishna. Okay, any questions, comments, rejections? Go on. Today's verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the Source of All Incarnations, Text 25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by Śrīla Goswami. Sarvasya Shastri Vipulasya Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhantaranaya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabhu Kali Dhanto Didhatitya Shri Krishna Parivatita. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, you are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas and are enriched with the jewels of philosophical conclusions. You grant spiritual vision to all people of the world and are the very life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, you are Lord Krishna who has returned among us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Yaksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostame. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation one attains transcendental bliss, because your syllables shower down pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone always, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Mareka Bandhamat Sangin, Matguru, Manmanadana, Manistaraka Bhakya, Ma Ananda Namo Sute. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, O my only friend, my companion and my teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu todhayin, ati nito chatakara, anamucha kadhachitmam, premarit katayashpura. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Please manifest yourself in my heart. Today's verse. Ata Aso Yuga Samstyaya Dashu Prayesu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yasha Namna Kalki Jagatpiti Ataso Yuga Sandhyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashaso Namnam Kalki Jagatpati Ataso Yuga Sanyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashesho Namnam Kalki Jagatpati Ataso Yuga Sanyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashasho Namna Kalki Jagatpati
Tasha Yuga Sandhyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashasho Namna Kalki Jagatpati
Ataso Yuga Sandhyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashasu Namna Kalki Jagatpati
Ataso Yuga Sandhyayam Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yasaso Namna Kalki Jagatpati
Ataso Yuga Sandhyayam Dasyu Prayeshu Rajeshu Janita Vishnu Yashaso Namna Kalki Jagatpati
Ata thereafter Aso the same Lord Yuga Sanyayam at the conjunction of the yugas Dashu plunderers Prayeshu almost all Rajasu the governing personalities Janita will take his birth Vishnu named Vishnu Yashasa surnamed Yasha
Salim Yasha.
Namna,
Namna.
in the name of
In the name of
Kalki,
Kalki,
the incarnation of the Lord,
the incarnation of the Lord.
Jagatpati,
Jagatpati,
the Lord of the creation.
the Lord of the creation.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Thereafter, at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu, Yasha. At this time, the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. Report. Here's another foretelling of the advent of Lord Kalki, the incarnation of Godhead. He is to appear at the conjunction of the two yugas, namely at the end of Kali Yuga and the beginning of Satya Yuga. The cycle of the four yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, rotates like the calendar months. The present Kali Yuga lasts 432,000 years, of which we have passed only 5,000 years after the battle of Kurukshetra, and the end of the regime of King Parikshit. So there are 427,000 years balance yet to be finished. Therefore, at the end of this period, the incarnation of Kalki will take place. As foretold in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the name of his father, Vishnu Yasha, a learned Brahmana, and the village Sambhala are also mentioned. As above mentioned, all these foretellings will prove to be factual in chronological order. That is the authority of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Taso yuga sandhyayam yashu prayeshu rajashu janita vishnu yashasho namna kalki jagatpatihi. Thereafter, at the conjunction of the two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasa. At this time, the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. So this is the Kalki incarnation. We have our dear Kalki Das here. And the Kalki incarnation comes at the end of Kali Yuga. So it's described here and also in other places that the yuga cycles happen like the calendar months, or the seasons is also described. So you have 4 yugas, just like the 4 seasons: the summer, the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. So similarly, you have Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Kalki comes at the end of the Kali Yuga. And each of these yugas are described by different characteristics. So, in the Satya Yuga, which is known as the Golden Age, is the yuga that actually lasts the longest period. And it is said that this yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. And in that yuga, the mode of goodness is predominant. So we see that during this time, during this time in the creation, that there's also, for the different yugas, there's different prescriptions given as far as to how someone can attain self-realization. So just like if you go to a doctor, let's say you have some cough, like we were experiencing previously, a couple, maybe a month or so back, that the devotees were falling sick. And, there were same symptoms, some cough, runny nose, some fever. So the devotees went to the doctor, and the doctor saw by the symptoms of the devotee what type of disease they had. And so he gave a prescription. You take, such and such antibiotic, such and such cough syrup, take so much rest. And that was meant to cure whatever symptom they might have had at that time, to bring them back to good health. So original good health is being a fully self-realized soul, back in the spiritual realm with Krishna. So according to the age, there's you could say in each age, the disease is the same ultimately, where we're turned away from Krishna. And the Bhagavatam is described in the 11th canto. Why the living entity is suffering so much in the material condition. And this Bhagavatam 11:2:37 for those who are keeping score. 11:2:37. Bhayam dvitiya abhinaveshata syat isat apeyasya viparyo smriti tamaya yota buddha abhyayatam vayakt yesam gurudeva deva atma. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildered, fearful condition is enacted by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipful deity and as his very life and soul. So in the Satya Yuga, the prescription that is given is meditation. For so it's described that the duration of life in Satya Yuga it's inconceivable for us to even, try to even think of. It's 100,000 years. Imagine living 100,000 years. Just the past 10 years, I can't even. So much has happened. I can't even remember what I did last week. What's to speak of these great sages living 100,000 years, and out of those 100,000 years, they would devote tens of thousands of those years in meditation, which was the prescribed method for that age, in order to achieve self-realization. And the mode of goodness was predominant at that time, and people lived for many thousands of years, so they can do this meditation. They can sit down. What they would do is do the mystic meditation. They meditate on the Lord in the heart. Sit down in a peaceful atmosphere, because the mode of goodness was predominant. You didn't have all these factories and these cars and all these things making so much distraction, so much noise. So in this age, it's practically impossible to do this, to sit down quietly, still, for a couple seconds without the mind creating some disturbance. That's what Arjuna was saying to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, how can I do this meditation? It's not possible in this age. The mind is too unsteady. I can't focus. What to speak of trying to sit down and, meditating within. We see this new age philosophy that you just sit down, quiet the mind, make all desires go away, and be quiet, be peaceful. But inside the mind is like a monkey jumping around. So we have to look for the cure of this age. And the cure is given. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Katyanata. Which means that in this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way. There is no other way other than chanting the holy names of the Lord. So I'll speak a little more about that, but I would like to mention the other ages. So you have Treta Yuga, which is known as the Silver Age. That age lasts for 1,296,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, the society starts to become a little more degraded. Vice is introduced. It's said that there are the four principles of religion, or the four principles of religion, which are austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So as each progressive yuga goes on, actually one of the legs is lost. And so austerity, which can be performed very nicely in Satya Yuga, then in Treta Yuga is a little more diminished. People can't sit for that long periods of time, and they actually now live for 10,000 years in the Treta Yuga. And the prescribed method in the Treta Yuga for achieving self-realization is performance of great sacrifice. So like these big Agnihotras, like we have this, these big stadiums today that people go and they worship their favorite soccer player, football player, basketball star. You had these arenas where they're worshiping these people, but actually in previous ages in the Treta Yuga, they had these huge arenas to perform great sacrifices to satisfy Krishna, Vishnu. And it took huge amounts of wealth to actually put on these sacrifices. They needed huge quantities of gold. They needed gallons and gallons and gallons of ghee. To speak of getting this much ghee today, they even try to get a little bit of ghee with our lunches a difficulty. So what about to perform a great sacrifice like this? They needed huge quantities of gold, fruits, and grains. So this was the prescribed method in Treta Yuga. Then the seasons progress, time goes on, time degrades. Everything Krishna says, time I am, the destroyer of all things. So the progression of the Yuga goes on, and then Dwapara Yuga comes in. The Dwapara Yuga then is said to last 864,000 years. And people in this age, now their life is degraded, their lifespan is brought down even lower to 1,000 years. And the prescribed method of self-realization in the Dwapara Yuga was obtained by worship of the deity, worship of the Lord in his deity form. And the worship was done very elaborately. And we have some remnants left of that still preserved in South India, in Tirupati and Ranganath, where they were worshipped in very great opulence. But we go to our normal ISKCON centers, and what we'll see? We'll see the deities with plastic jewelry, low quality garments. Because it's not possible in this age to worship the Lord with such high opulence as it was formerly. Expensive jewels were used. The Lord was decorated very nicely, very beautifully with gold and silver and the best of things. Which in today's day and age is not. It's not possible. The opulence that was worshipped in Dwapara Yuga. And Dwapara Yuga is known as the Bronze Age. And the mercy aspect of principal religion is the one most predominant in the Dwapara Yuga. The mercy of the Lord, actually, you see that the mercy is in the deity form of the Lord. The residents have the opportunity, or people have the opportunity to see the deity form of the Lord. And just by seeing the deity form of the Lord, one is purified. So this in this Dwapara Yuga, that is the method of self-realization. And that brings us to Kali Yuga, the present age. It is described here in this verse that Kalki comes at the end of the Kali Yuga, and that in this age, the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. So we see governments around the world, actually, the government is so-called helping the people, but it's described in the Krishna book that the actual purpose, for example, taxation being enacted on people, was to to store up riches and wealth that can later be used for the betterment of the people, for the betterment of the state. But nowadays we see so much tax money going in, and it's disappearing. No one knows where it goes. Politicians writing themselves fat checks. Even in religious organizations, we see some great, mega church Christian preacher goes on humbly to his how do you say, the audience, oh, please help me to get this $1 million jet, because I need to travel around to be able to preach the glories of Jesus Christ. I remember reading one article. There was a bishop in Georgia. He had just been anointed the post bishop, and just after getting that anointment of the post of bishop, he bought a $1 million mansion. for preaching. It's for preaching. So it's okay. It's for preaching. For my sense gratification. So we see that even the religious, what to speak of the rulers, even the so-called religious leaders are also degenerated in this age of Kali. Kali is described as the Iron Age, and the last leg which is left of religion in this age is truthfulness, and we see even that is diminishing day by day. And in Kali Yuga, the prescription that is given is the chanting of the holy names. It's described in the Bhagavatam. Krishnam Bharam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangasa Parsana Yagna Sankirtane Prayaya Yanti Hi Sumedasaha, which says that in Kali Yuga, or in this age, the method, the Lord has descended in a hidden incarnation. This Lord Chaitanya, he has come, and he has come not with his normal astras, his normal weapons, like he did as Lord Ramachandra came with his weapons, Krishna also. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes with his associates, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, to propagate the Sankirtan movement. And through the chanting of the holy names, they give us the means by which we can come to the state of becoming fully self-realized. Kaliya dhosa nidhe rajan, aste yeko mahaguna, kirtana eva krishnasya, mukta sangha, haramriya. The 12th canto of the Bhagavatam is described that in this age of Kali, even though this age of Kali, I'll give you the exact.
What was the
That verse is 12:3-51. And the one about Lord Chaitanya, that one's 11:5-32. Yeah. And then this one is 11:3-51. He says, "My dear king," this is Sukadev, "my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom." And the next verse describes that whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, can be attained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So everything is there in the holy name. It is not different than Krishna himself. So when we worship the holy name in the correct consciousness, then we can achieve the desired result. Just like if the prescription of the doctor was to take 1 tablespoon of this cough syrup every day for 2 weeks, then you will become cured. Then we have to do it that way, or else what will be the result? We won't get the desired result. There are the 10 offenses to chanting the holy name. So if we're chanting and we're committing sinful activities at the same time, and we're thinking, okay, anyway, I'll chant Hare Krishna and go on with my nonsense, and I'll still become self-realized. No, it's not possible. You can't do it. That's not the prescription. So we have to try to understand the principles which have been given, the rules and regulations which have been given, and try to abide by them. Many, many times Śrīla Prabhupada said, just follow the 4 regular principles and chant your 16 rounds prescribed daily. So that's the prescription. But then also we take instruction from our spiritual masters on how to chant properly the holy names. So Mahaprabhu has given the instruction to Narapi Sunichena. So you have to be more humble than a blade grass, more talented than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects unto others. And then one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Yesterday, I got a little lesson on, just trying to be on this principle of being, you could say, humble. And I was talking to this lady, It was interesting. It was this lady came out with her family, two sons, one son and one daughter, and she ended up taking a Saptarishi set. But in talking to the lady, she was revealing some things to me. She was saying how she was homeless. She was homeless, but she had a strong faith in God. And she was saying she believed that if she gave this money for these books, that she would still be taken care of. She was telling me she lives in a homeless shelter. And we were going to the ATM, and some, the homeless guys, how they always approach and ask for things. He came by and he started talking to the lady, and I kind of just gave some attitude for some. It came up out of somewhere, and I was like, yo, just back off. To the guy, and then he kind of just was like, oh, I'm just hungry, so I'm just asking for some, please, I'm sorry. And I felt a little, I kind of felt a little bad at that moment. And the lady, then she reached into her bag and brought out a juice and gave it to the guy. She said, here you go, that's what I have to offer you. And then I was just thinking, oh man, let me give her some prasadam. So I pulled out some prasadam and gave it to the guy. And then the little girl also, she was like, she went to her younger brother, and he said to him, no, don't worry, we have more at home. Because he was like, oh, I want my juice. She said, no, don't worry, we have more at home. So, yes, this is a mundane example, where, you're giving somebody something on, you're giving, somebody food, which is just taking care of the cage. But what I should have done from the beginning was, just gave the guy prasadam from the get-go, not just shoo him away like, in nonsense. Oh, ultimately, we're all like that. We're all basically homeless in this material world, begging. Maybe because my material situation might be a little better, But ultimately, people need the holy names. That is what the ultimate cure, the prasadam, the holy names, and the knowledge that's presented in these books. And talking about the knowledge that's presented in these books, Prabhupada said that these books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. And I was looking up the definition of the word law. It's very interesting. Yeah, according to Merriam-Webster. There you go. So law. Law, the definition given, is a binding custom or practice of a community, a rule of conduct or action prescribed, or formally recognized as binding or enforced by controlling authority. The whole body of such customs, practice, or rules. The control brought by existence or enforcement of such law. A rule or order that is advisable or obligatory to observe. A rule or order that is advisable or obligatory to observe. So Prabhupada's books are the law books. Something compatible with, enforceable by established law. A rule of construction or procedure. So basically, Śrīla Prabhupada, and then I was looking at, for the reference of this 10,000 years quote, which we often hear. I was able to find something in the database, a very nice offering actually that one of Prabhupada's disciples did. And I read it here, it's from Copenhagen. He wrote a nice, two of his disciples wrote a offering. And they said, I'll just read the offering, it's very beautiful. He says, Dear Śrīla Prabhupada, please accept our most humble obeisances prostrated in the dust of your divine lotus feet on this most auspicious day of your appearance, and on every other day of the year. Your timely appearance on this earth planet has brought auspiciousness to all the fallen conditioned souls of this world. Your gifts to us, most precious of gifts, medicine for Kali Yuga, name of Krishna on our lips, reliefs from material cage, the key to pure love you gave, bestower of the holy name, your divine grace. Prasadam, the perfect diet. Insatiable tongue becomes quiet. Honoring Krishna's prasadam, ISKCON's preaching ace. Benefactor of the world, your divine grace. When the night is dark, the souls are in slumber. Awake with your dictaphone, you gave the answers. Bhaktivedanta purports, your ISKCON is based on for the next 10,000 years, your divine grace. Your temples are like oases, shelter for the poor. Embassies of Vaikuntha, visas to the spiritual world. Deliverer of the fallen, creator of holy places, we take shelter of you, your divine grace. In Vrindavan, the holiest of Dhams, a temple rose in Ramanreti. You consider this your home, life's desire, Paramgati. By your mercy, darshan of this holy place, eternally indebted to you, your divine grace. In Mayapur, Gauranga's land, divine love can be easily gained. You built a city to spread Gauranga's fame. As your master plan unfolds, lakhs will come to be amazed. All glory to you, your divine grace. A tidal wave of love of God, inundation of the world you have wrought. Spiritual ecstasy we can taste. By your mercy, your divine grace. Krishna is reality, you have shown. Engage in bhakti, he can be known. In his form of Shama Sundar, face to face. Eternally indebted to you, your divine grace. Impersonalism, materialism, nationalism, communism. You expose these illusions and establish Krishnanism. A house big enough, shelter for the human race. Well-wisher of the world, your divine grace. A revolution in consciousness you have begun. So short a time, yet so much done. Dynamic, fearless and bold, yet set the pace. For the generations to come, your divine grace. What you have given is meant to be shared. An introduction to the world, an association so rare. Through your centennial unity of the human race, to eternally glorify you, your divine grace. O bestower of pure devotion, free us from material motivations, eternally in Krishna's service, no more rat race. Bow down to you, your divine grace. So begging to remain your servants and new Srivas Anga, Copenhagen Day, my part. Trinan Jiva Das and Radha Vinoda Das. And so I just wanted to give some nice description of the symptoms of Kali, and you guys can see if we're actually experiencing any of these today. And it would actually degrade to even to worse than this. So the descriptions of Kali are given in the symptoms of Kali Yuga are given in the 2nd chapter of the 12th canto. And Sukadeva Goswami said, "Then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of this age of Kali. In Kali Yuga, wealth alone will be considered the sign of a man's good birth. Proper behavior and fine qualities, and law and justice will be applied only on the basis of one's power. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction, and success in business will depend on the seed. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a Brahmana just by wearing a thread. A person's spiritual position will be ascertained merely according to external symptoms, and on that same basis, people will change from one spiritual order to the next. A person's property will be seriously questioned if he does not earn a good living, and one who is very clever at juggling words will be considered a learned scholar. A person will be judged unholy if he does not have any money, and hypocrisy will be accepted as virtue. Marriage will be arranged simply by verbal agreement, and a person will think he is fit to appear in public if he has merely taken a bath. A sacred place will be taken to consist of no more than a reservoir of water located at a distance, and beauty will be thought to depend on one's hairstyle. Filling the belly will become the goal of life, and one who is audacious will be accepted as truthful. He who can maintain a family will be regarded as an expert man, and the principles of religion will be observed only for the sake of reputation. As the earth becomes crowded with corrupt population, whoever among any of the social classes shows himself to be the strongest will gain political power. Losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers who will behave no better than ordinary thieves, the citizens will flee to the mountains and forests." So this is a point here bringing up Prabhupada's statement that they will flee to the farms in the millions. And His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj always talks about this point. And actually, him and my Guru Maharaj were having a talk in Govardhan where they were lamenting over this, that they have a whole generation missed the boat completely. He was saying how now it's such a popular thing in the world. We see vegetarianism, and, veganism, and people trying to become so-called more healthy and want to become living more natural lives. And we would have had our farms in order by now, to provide so much shelter to the world. But yeah, there's still so much work to be done, and we can continue on in this way. Even though you say some work wasn't done in that regard previously, we can learn from that and try to manifest these desires of Śrīla Prabhupada. Harassed by famine and excessive taxes, people resort to eating leaves, roots, flesh, and wild honey, fruits, flowers, and seeds. Struck by drought, they will become completely ruined. The citizens will suffer great cold, heat, rain, and snow. They will be further tormented by quarrels, hunger, thirst, disease, and severe anxiety. The maximum duration of life for human beings in Kali Yuga will become 50 years. By the time the age of Kali ends, the bodies of all creatures will be greatly reduced in size, and the religious principles of the followers of the Varna Ashram will be ruined. The path of the Vedas will be completely forgotten in human society, and so-called religion will be mostly atheistic. The kings will mostly be thieves. The occupations of men will be stealing, the lowest of the sudras, the lowest level of sudras. Lying and lenience violence, and all the social classes will be reduced to the lowest level of sudras. Cows will be like goats. Spiritual hermitage will be no different from mundane houses, and family ties will extend no further than the intimate bonds of marriage. Wow. So cows will stop giving milk. There'll be no spiritual places of shelter, and even families won't go beyond marriages. So you won't have extended families anymore. Most plants and herbs will be tiny, and all trees will appear like dwarf Sami trees. Clouds will be full of lightning, homes will be devoid of piety, and all human beings will have become like asses. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear on earth, acting with the power of pure spiritual goodness. He will rescue eternal religion. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of all moving and non-moving beings, the super soul of all, takes breath to protect the principles of religion and to relieve the saintly devotees from the actions of material work. Lord Kalki will appear in the home of the most eminent Brahmana of the Sambhala village, the great soul, Vishnu Yasha. Lord Kalki, the Lord of the universe, will mount his swift horse, Devadatta, and sword in hand will travel over the earth, exhibiting his 8 mystic opulences and 8 special qualities of Godhead, displaying his unequaled effulgence and riding with great speed. He will kill by the millions those thieves who have dared to dress as kings. So there's still another 427,000 years for Kalki to come. But Kalki will come, and he will usher in the Satya Yuga again. So I want to read a little bit about Ramanujacharya. Today is his disappearance day. So Ramanujacharya, great Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya, and the philosophy which he propounded was Vishishtadvaita, qualified non-dualism, which Mahaprabhu got the Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva from, which is the simultaneous oneness and difference of the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada many times mentioned we're one in quality, but different in quantity. That's a simultaneous oneness and difference. So Ramanujacharya was born to Kanti Mali and Ashuri Keshavacharya in the village of Puttapuri. He was born in the year 1017. So they would actually just celebrate a couple of years ago the 1000th appearance day of Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya was a brilliant scholar from his young age. He could easily remember anything he was taught, even after hearing it only once. So he was considered a Shrutidhar. And there's this one popular pastime, and we can see in Srirangam, where's this is the headquarters of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. There's the deity of Ranganath, which is the deity of Vishnu, who's lying down. And here still the deity worship is maintained at a very high standard, very high opulence. And one pastime of Ramanujacharya, our South Indian pundits are down in the kitchen making the breakfast, but it would have been nice to hear from them with the pastime of Ramanujacharya. I'm not so learned myself, so I'll just read here the one pastime. So one evening, so this is Mahapurna was the guru of Ramanujacharya, and it came time for, seems like he was going to receive his mantra, and this guru directed him to see another guru named Gosti Purna to take this mantra from him. So here is described, one evening when they had completed their studies for the day, Mahapurna said to Ramanuja, "Not far from here is the prosperous town known as Tirukotishur. Living there is a great scholar and devotee, Gosti Purna by name, who was born in the Pandya country. It is no exaggeration to say that there is no other Vaishnava like him in this part of the country. If you desire to fully learn the meaning and significance of the Vedic mantras, then there is none but he who is qualified to teach you. I advise you to go to Tirukotishur without delay."
What is it?
Tirukitur. Kotitur. Kotitur. Without delay, and receive the mantra from Gosti Purna. Having received this instruction from his guru, Ramanuja went to Tirukotishur for a few days later to see Gosti Purna. In the presence of that famous devotee, he offered his prostrated obeisances and begged for the Vaishnava mantra to be bestowed upon him. Gosti Purna, however, was very reluctant to impart the secret of the mantra and replied, "You may come here some other day, and I will consider your request." Ramanuja felt very dejected at this reply, and with a heavy heart he returned to Srirangam. A few days later, a big festival was held in honor of Lord Ranganath, and Gosti Purna came there to take part in the worship. At that time, one of the priests of the temple was inspired by Lord Ranganath, and he spoke as follows to Gosti Purna: "You should bestow the mantra on my devotee, Ramanuja, who is most worthy to receive it." Realizing that the Lord was speaking to him through his servant, Gosti Purna replied, "But my Lord, is it not true that the mantra may be given only to one who has completely purified his mind by long austerities? How can the mantra, which is not different from yourself, reside in the mind of one who is not pure?" To this the priest replied, "You do not understand the purity of this devotee. He is able to deliver all humanity." After this incident, Gosti Purna began to consider the matter deeply, but still he was unwilling to give the mantra to any other person. Time and time again, Ramanuja approached him, but repeatedly Gosti Purna refused his requests. When his appeals had been denied on 18 separate occasions, Ramanuja began to feel that there must be some great impurity in his heart, and that it was for this reason that Gosti Purna would not bestow his mercy upon him. Such determination Ramanujacharya had. Even though dejected 18 times, again and again, came back to the Guru asking for his mantra. So this is, we can take this as being the staple of a devotee. Devotee should be determined. Yabhisakka Bhudir, which is have one pointed attention, fixed attention on the ultimate goal. Ramanuja began to shed tears of despair When the people informed Gostipurna of Ramanuja's condition, he was moved by pity for the young devotee. Therefore, when Ramanuja came before him, he spoke to him in a kind way. Only Lord Vishnu himself is aware of the glories of this mantra. Now I know that you are worthy to receive it, for you are pure and firmly fixed in devotion to the Lotus feet of the Lord. At the present time, I can find no one but yourself who is fit to receive the mantra, and whoever chants it is certain to go to Vaikuntha at the time of death, because this mantra is so pure and sacred. It must not be touched by the lips of anyone who has material desires. Therefore, you must not disclose the mantra to any other person. Having thus instructed Ramanuja, Gostipurna initiated him into the chanting of the mantra of 18 syllables. Ramanuja was filled with ecstasy to chant this wonderful vibration, and his face began to glow with spiritual effulgence. He considered himself the most blessed of all beings and bowed down again and again at the feet of his guru. And then what gets revealed to us is the heart of a pure devotee. Here Ramanuja continues. Sri Gostipurna, having taken leave of Sri Gostipurna, Ramanuja in a joyful mood began to return to Sri Raman. But as he was walking, he began to think about the potency of the mantra that he had been given to him. While thinking in this way, he became filled with feelings of compassion for the suffering of all living beings in this material world. Then as he was walking near the walls of the Vishnu temple, in Tijur, he began to call out to all the people who were passing by. Please, all of you, come here. Come near to Lord Vishnu's temple, and I will give you a priceless jewel. Attracted by his pure expression and unusual words, a large crowd of men, women, and children began to follow him. A rumor began to spread that all over the town that a prophet had appeared who could fulfill all of one's desires. Within a short time, a huge crowd had assembled outside the temple. On seeing this mass of humanity, Yati Raja's heart swelled with joy. He embraced the two disciples who had accompanied him, Dasarathi and Kuresh, and then he climbed up to the tower of the temple. In a loud voice, he began to address the gathering. All of you are more dear to me than my own life. Therefore, I have a strong desire to deliver you from the torments of suffering, the sufferings all of us must undergo in this temporary world. Please recite this mantra, which I have obtained for you. Do this, and the Lord's mercy will be upon you. When they heard Ramanuja's words, all the people in the crowd called out, Please tell us this mantra. Showers the Lord's blessings upon us. Then Yatiraj called out in a deep, resounding voice the mantra he had just received from Gostipurna.
What was it?
Om Namo Narayana.
Yo, you got it. We all got it.
Immediately, the crowd
Right?
responded.
Immediately.
Everyone called out the sacred words together, producing a sound like thunder. Twice more, Ramanuja called out the mantra, and twice more, the thunderous response resounded from the crowd. Every person became silent and looked at one another with feelings of deep ecstasy in their hearts. At that time, it seemed that the earth had become Vaikuntha. The faces of the men, women, and children were flushed with joy, and it seemed that all the mysteries had gone from the earth. Those who had come running to the temple, hoping to receive gold or jewels, immediately forgot their worldly desires, feeling as if they had been given a diamond in place of a piece of broken glass. As the joyful crowd melted away, men and women came and prostrated themselves before Yatiraja, considered themselves the most blessed to have received such a benediction from the great soul. Ramanuja then climbed down from the tower and began walking towards Gostipurna's residence to worship the feet of his guru. So then Gostipurna was very angry. He was extremely angry, feeling Ramanuja had betrayed his trust. Ramanuja approached him with his two disciples, and Gostipurna addressed him thus. He said, "Get out of my sight, O lowest of men. I have committed a great sin by entrusting the most precious gem to such an untrustworthy person as yourself. Why have you come here again, forcing me to commit the sin of looking at your face?
Oh.
Surely you are destined to live in hell for countless lifetimes." Without any sign of remorse, Ramanuja replied to his guru in the most humble manner, saying, "It was only because I am prepared to suffer in hell that I dared go against your order. You told me that whoever chanted the mantra of 18 syllables was certain to be liberated. Thus, according to your words, so many people are now destined to find shelter at Lord Narayana's lotus feet. If an insignificant person like me has to go to hell, it is of no great importance if so many others thereby attain the mercy of Lord Narayana." So this is a quality of the great souls, that they are willing to take on suffering to their self, for the betterment of others. We see Prahlad Maharaj was in the same mood. He said, I'm only lamenting for all these fools and rascals. I don't wish to be liberated alone. I wish these fools and rascals will also be liberated. That's why he didn't want to go to the forest. He wanted to stay in the city and preach Krishna consciousness. And we see Vasudeva Datta, also in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said that he would be willing to suffer in hell if Mahaprabhu gave him all the sinful activities of all the people. He said, I'll be willing to take on the sinful activities so they can all be liberated. So similarly, to some extent, we're also doing like that on behalf of Śrīla Prabhupada, on behalf of the Guru Parampara, on behalf of the great acharyas. We go out, we perform these Sankirtan Yajna, giving people prasadam, the holy names, and Śrīla Prabhupada's transcendental books. And our austerity is to chant the holy names and follow the 4 regular principles. And by doing this, we are properly aligned with the prescription for this age of Kali, to liberate all the souls. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be around when Kalki comes to kill all the miscreants of this Kali Yuga. Thank you all for your kind attention. Any questions, answers, comments? Dr. Bhagavatam.
So, in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana,
Yes.
there's a section where Ganga Devi is talking with Krishna, and she's wondering what the heck is going to happen during Kali Yuga. She's frightened, and so basically, for 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga, Mother Ganga will be there to purify things. And she's like, well, I don't want to purify these like really degraded people. Then he said, well, don't worry. Then for 10,000 years of Kali Yuga, my devotees will be on the planet, and they'll be, and he specifically says they'll be chanting the holy name and reading from the and hearing from the Bhagavatam, from the
Brahma Vivarta Purana.
Yeah, and so there he mentions for 10,000 years, and he says after that 10,000 years, then there'll only be one varna, or just everything will be lower. Everyone will be an outcast. Everyone will be lower than a Shudra.
Yes, described in the Bhagavatam.
And then devoid of my devotees, the earth will thus be shackled by Kali. So that's the main what is it called, praman for Prabhupada, and there's a conversation where Prabhupada's talking with Allen Ginsberg and a few other things, but that's what the 10,000 year golden age is referring to. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, and in the verse also it mentions a word Yuga Sandinam or something. What verse was this? 25.
Yuga Sandhyayam.
Sandhyayam. So there's the Yuga Sandhya and Yuga Sandhyayam, and these are 2 periods at the Sandhyas at the first part before the main Yuga, and the Sandhyayams at the second part. And so each Yuga has the main portion of it, like it says here, 432,000 years, but it's actually Kali Yuga is 360,000 years is the main Kali Yuga, and it has 2 36,000 year Sandhyas. And so basically right now, we've only gone in 5,000 years, so we're only ramping up in the Sandhya, which is it'll be full Kali Yuga after 36,000 years. And so there was a question, someone was wondering, how does it work? Satyuga people live 100,000 years, Kali Yuga people live 100 years. And Prabhupada says they live down to 20 years. You're 20 years old, you're an old man. At the end of Kali Yuga, you can read in the 12th canto. And basically one explanation is that there's these sandhyas, there's the sandhya. The sun is not just at full noon and then it's dark. It has periods where it's not dark, it's not light, but the sun is rising through, and it's the sunrise sandhya. There's also the it's overhead, and then when the sun's decreasing, it's like it hasn't fully set, but it also you can't it's not there. And so similarly, the yugas have that same thing. And so when Kalki comes and wipes everyone out, it's not just the next people that are born are going to necessarily live 100,000 years. There's going to be that ramp up period until it's like the full, in the Satya Yuga, 10% of its 1,200,000 years, it's going to be a lot, like 120,000 year ramp up period.
So what's this ramp up period called?
Sandhya.
Sandhya?
Yeah, it's like we have Sandhya Arti.
Yeah.
And like that means that's like the time. The Sandhya is like the sunset, and the English would be sunset and sunrise. There's like a specific time, 48 minutes, like 24 minutes before, 24 minutes after, which is called the Sandhya. And so that's like in a day, but it happens also in like the bigger cycle of the Yuga cycle. It's a similar idea where like there's this transition period where it's not quite day, it's not quite night, where it's not quite Kali Yuga, it's definitely not Satya Yuga. Like that's where we're in right now. But then once after about another 9,400 something years, 420 or 460 years or something, then there will be no devotees left, and then it'll basically just be Kali Yuga coming on harder and harder, and all these crazy things happening more and more. Like the cows will stop giving completely milk. You can't grow grains. You can't grow fruit. You can't grow sugar. You just have to eat meat, and basically it's like
people start eating their fetuses.
It's like the zombie apocalypse. You have all these people. They just want to, the zombies just want to eat other people, right? That's basically what it will be. Everyone will just have to eat other people, and other animals until there's just like, it's crazy.
Any questions? Comments?
But
Okay.
will it be technologically advanced end of Kali Yuga?
Who knows? I would doubt it if people are only living 20 years old. I think it would be like barbarians.
It was described that people will, bodily strength will diminish. It would be like little, basically like dwarfs.
The intelligence will
People like little dwarfs running around, and they're just like carnivores. They eat each other up. That's the only thing that's gonna be remain. So no fruits, no vegetables, and people will just eat meat.
Yeah, but maybe they will have smartphones.
Smartphones.
it's
Anyway,
definitely a big doubt on that.
Not described. Yeah.
So
I don't know if this.
we'll end the class there. Or you have another question?
No. We can do something else.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Prabhupada ki. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki. Hare Krishna.
Gopal Champu Prabhu ki.